G'day guys, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another lab golf video. Today I'm going to be talking about what you need to look out for, what you need to do or think about before you purchase your lab putter. These things are quite expensive, so I don't want you to make some mistakes that I made when I first got my lab. So the first and the biggest mistake that people make is they go and buy these putters from a golf store. Now, look, there's nothing wrong with that as long as you have someone who is actually going to fit you for that putter. Do not go and buy a putter from a golf shop and just get it off the shelf, roll a few putts with it and take it home. Please do not do that because you are not going to get the best performance out of this putter. What I personally recommend doing is finding someone in your area who specifically fits lab golf putters, so you can go and try all the different models. You can try and get fit for the correct lie angle and the correct grip that's going to suit your game. There's a few things with these putters you need to get right. Otherwise, you're always going to struggle until ultimately, if you persist with it, you're going to have to change your setup. You're going to have to change the way you putt. So getting fit for these things is imperative. I also recommend doing the online fitting. The online fitting is fantastic. As long as you know what model of putter you actually want to get, then the online fitting is absolutely amazing. But going in person and trying these things before you purchase them is going to help a lot because you're going to be able to visually see the putters. You're going to be able to see the actual shape, what suits your eye, what you roll the ball ultimately the best with, and you're going to be able to make your decision based on actually trying the putters. If you know which model you want, if you know which model you love, the online fitting is amazing. I've done the online fitting and they absolutely nailed my specs. So the online fitting definitely works, but it's definitely a second option to going and actually getting fit in a proper fitting studio. The reason you want to get fit. So let's talk about the reasons. So the first one is lie angle. So these putters, they're actually designed to stay square to the lie angle of the putter. So they're called lie angle balanced. And whatever angle these are sitting at, so the lie angle is going to be the angle between the actual club head and the shaft there. Whatever angle these are sitting at, the club face is going to stay square to that angle. So if you get someone that doesn't have a correctly fitted putter and say they're going to be massively toe up, they're just going to be fighting keeping that face, getting the actual launch of the golf ball down their target line. They're going to be fighting it all day because the putter is going to be working against you. So it's imperative to get your lie angle correct with these putters before purchasing it. The other thing you want to get is the length. Length is a big thing. If you're going to get a putter that's too short, you're going to be bending over more, you're going to be putting strain on your back, you're going to be changing where your eyes fall over the ball. Length is very important and it cannot be understated. You really need to make sure you've got the right length putter because if you don't, you're going to start changing things and that's where everything's just going to go bad. So those are the two things you really need to get correct because this putter, the way it's designed, you cannot change the lie angle once this thing is made. Once they've made this, it is that lie angle, you're not going to be able to change it. With length as well, you don't want to be adding length or taking length off this putter because ultimately that's going to affect the swing weight. Just you want the length and the lie angle to be correct. Something else you really want to pay attention to is the grip that you get for your putter. So a lot of people don't realize, but these grips are actually designed with a forward press. So you can see that the actual grip doesn't go straight through. I'll try and line it up with the camera now. The actual putter, the actual shaft doesn't go directly into the middle of the grip. And that's because it has a built-in forward press. There you go. That angle's going to give you the best view of it. So because this thing has a built-in forward press, you really need to go and get fit. You need to go try a few different grips. You need to figure out how you're launching the ball with this putter. So each putter head is going to have a different launch to it. So for instance, this one, the DF3, I launched this a little bit higher than my Mez Max. And that's just due to there being a bit more weight behind the actual shaft there. So you got a bit more weight. The putter head naturally wants to add a bit of loft when you're coming through the putt. So where the grip comes into this is you need to figure out how you release the putter, how you ultimately, swing the putter head to then figure out how much forward press you need. Because if you're someone that releases the head and adds a lot of loft, potentially getting a 2 degree or a 2.5 degree forward press grip might be the answer to getting your launch down a little bit. Another thing that people don't understand with these grips is because you actually do have a bit of forward press there, you can see that the shaft is going to be at an angle in this grip. So the more forward press you want from your press grip, the thicker the grip is going to be. And that's because the shaft is ultimately going to be sitting at more of an angle. So you need a bit more material there to actually allow that to happen. So if you go for, say, a 2.5-degree forward press, it's going to be a thicker grip because the shaft needs that material to actually get that angle. So be aware of that. When I initially went to this grip, this is the press number 2, the 1.5 degree. When I first went to this grip, it did feel quite thick to me, and that's because I was coming from a traditional standard grip. So those 3 things are ultimately why I say going and buying it from a big box store where you haven't been fit, you just go roll a few putts on the putting green and go, hey, I'll buy that DF3, I'll buy that Mez Max. That is not a good idea. You really want to think about what you're getting and get fit for these putters before going and spending your money. These things are seriously expensive. And when we start talking later in the video about some of the upgrade options, that's where the price can really jump as well. So the other thing you need to think about before you actually buy these putters is the actual shaft that you're going to have in them. So I have the Acra. This is engineered by by Acra. So you can see that. It's made from Acra, but it's engineered for these lab putters. Now, shaft options are huge with lab golf putters. You can get the standard steel shaft, which is still very stiff and stout, but it's not going to be as stiff as some of these carbon shafts. Before I go into it all, let me talk about why the actual shaft matters. So with these putters, they are zero torque putters, and that's absolutely true if you hit them right in the middle of the putter head. There's zero torque. What the actual shaft does is if you start hitting these off center, you're going to hit the toe or the heel. Due to deflection, these are actually going to open slightly or close slightly, depending on where you hit it on the face. So what the actual shaft is doing is taking care of torsional torque. So when a ball is going to hit the toe of the putter, it's going to naturally deflect open. What the actual shaft is doing, because these are stiffer than a standard putter shaft, is it's making sure that the actual putter head doesn't deflect open as much. The stiffer you go in the shaft, the less deflection you're going to have if you hit off center. So although the head is zero torque, the shaft is going to take care of torsional torque when you hit the toe or the heel when you're coming through impact. However, there's a fine trade-off. There's a balance. You don't want things to be so stiff that you have no feel over the putter head or where you're hitting it. So there is a balance there. Again, I recommend going and trying a few of these before you ultimately make your decision. I found the Acra to be fantastic, but a lot of people like to upgrade into, other options that Lab offers, such as the BGT stability shaft or the TPT putter shaft. So there's a few different options. I've found the Acra shaft to be really nice, and it is, like I said, stiffer. You can definitely feel it's stiffer than the standard steel shaft option. Now, I know what people are going to be thinking. The shaft, really? Does it make that much of a difference? Yes, it does. Go and try some. Go and try the steel shaft. At a minimum, at an absolute minimum, I recommend upgrading to the Acra as a minimum. The steel shaft is good, and it's a lot stiffer than what you're going to find in, more traditional putters, but trust me, at a minimum, upgrade to the Acra. Okay, let's talk weight now. So another big thing you need to think about with these putters is the actual weight that you're going to get them before you actually buy them. So these putters actually swing weight a lot heavier than a standard traditional putter. So for example, this putter, comparing it to, say, a Spider putter from TaylorMade, this thing, if you put it in a swing weight machine, it is going to swing weight a lot heavier than the Spider. And that's when this is in just the neutral or the standard weight. Now, what is swing weight? Swing weight is ultimately the balance of where the weight falls in the club. So what this is saying is the actual head of this putter is going to be heavier, or that the weight is going to be more biased towards the head of the putter than with a TaylorMade Spider. The weight's going to sit more, up the shaft somewhere. The reason for that is because these putters, because they don't have torque, they feel a lot lighter when you stroke them. So because you're not getting that twisting and that torque going through your hands like you do with a traditional putter that wants to open and close and go around everywhere, that ultimately feels like weight when you are putting with those putters. With the Lab, you don't have that. It's not fighting you. So it does feel like these putters are a lot lighter than a more standard traditional putter. However, when you put them in a swing weight scale, these actually swing weight a lot heavier, and that's in their standard setting. What I would recommend, again, going and trying a few different options, but if you're going to buy off the shelf, I went with the standard option. If I was to do it again, I would go heavy. I would choose the heavy option in this putter, and that's because when I first got this, I had the standard, this is the standard option, it felt really light to me. So definitely think about the actual weight that you want. I would recommend, if you're on the fence deciding whether to go standard or heavy, I would personally go heavy. I've definitely got used to this putter over the past, 6 months, 8 months of using it. However, if I was to do it again, I would go heavy. Okay, let's finally talk alignment. So with these putters, you get a ridiculous amount of alignment options. As you can see, I've just gone for the standard single line. And look, this is something that is going to be personal preference, but what I would say is be careful. Be careful what you get, because there are so many options and you can overload the alignment and make it look crazy. And when you set up to the ball, it can distract from your actual putting. So just be very careful what you're going to go for with alignment. Again, if you can go and see a putter, you can see all these different alignment options. That's going to give you the best idea of what you want. Do I regret getting the single line? Absolutely not. Would I get something different if I was to do it again? I potentially would. I might get the line that goes all the way through to the back. So little things like that, you're not going to be able to change once you get this putter, and you're spending a lot of money. So have a think about alignment. But if you're going to go something crazy, one of the really, having 3 lines going all the way down, I would definitely go and check that out and try it before you buy the actual putter, because having something that crazy with those alignment lines can take away from your actual putting. So just be careful what you get. I do think with these putters, sometimes having more options does make it a lot more confusing. If they only offered a few options, then it will be a lot easier to choose. At the end of the day, you will be happy with whichever putter you get. But I'm going to end it with this. Once you have your putter, once you've done your fitting, you've got your lie angle, you've got the length, you've got the grip, everything's perfect, you've got, what shaft you want to use. When you get your putter, be very careful with your putting stroke. So if you're going to get this putter, and say you're someone that stands really far away from the ball, and so you need a really flat lie angle, if you then get this putter and start changing your setup, start changing your stroke, say if your coach says to you, you need to get your eyes over the ball. So you get your putter and you set up with your eyes, say 4 or 5 inches inside the ball, and then you change your setup to your eyes being over the ball, that is going to affect your lie angle. So you've got to be very careful with these putters. And what I would say is, if you're going to get one of these, definitely do your fundamental changes before you get fit for these putters. So check where your eye line is over the ball, check how high or low your hands are. If you want to change anything, then change it before doing your fitting. Because if you do your fitting for your old setup and then you dramatically change to your new setup, that is where you're going to have issues, because your putter's not going to be fit for you anymore. So there are a lot of things to think about when buying these putters. A lot goes into it, and people don't understand just going and buying something from a big box store is just, please don't do that. Just get fit, or at least do the online fitting. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you got a lot out of that, and I hope that helps your buying decision. If you've got any comments or questions, please leave them down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.